from as well. As we're moving on to our second match of the day, we did think it was going to be a quick series to kick off the day.
Not the case.
Not the case at all. Warrior Mirrors, how we enjoy you sometimes. But we are going to be going SamuelTsao versus Tyler, and Tyler almost made it last season, actually. You know, I feel like he did overall pretty well. But it looks like both players now, as we see what they brought to the table, he's just mirrored Hunter bans across the board, and then the Rogue protects or shields. So it means that it's going to be Priest and Mage and Rogue available for Tyler, and then Mage, Warrior, Rogue available for SamuelTsao. And honestly, Rogue, especially after the first few days of ladder, maybe because they didn't have the flashy stuff, felt like maybe it was going to take a back seat in this expansion. How wrong most of us were, because it is one of, if not the most aggressive deck that exists right now.
Yeah, I really like this aggro rogue that we have knocking about now. I think it's in a pretty good spot against everything except the Warrior, as is so often the case with these aggro decks. This is a matchup as well that I'm fine with Warrior being dominant in. This is exactly what Warrior should be destroying, is these face aggro decks. The armor gain, the early board control is very, very difficult for Rogue to get ahead, which is why I think SamuelTsao, with his Warrior, has put himself in a pretty good spot in this series. Tyler, with his Priest and his Rogue in particular, I think is really going to struggle against that Warrior, because we've seen Priest do some disgusting things against Warrior. If you get that incredibly high health, high damage start, you can close out the game very quickly. Generally, however, I think you struggle to get past all the removal. This first game that we have now, however, with the Rogue versus the Priest versus the Rogue, is a lot closer and actually a personal favorite of mine in the current metagame.
Yeah, I feel like it's a matchup that every turn it feels like the victory or defeat is on a knife's edge, just every single turn. And that's maybe often the case in just any Priest versus X matchup. But I feel like this one especially because, unlike, say, Priest versus Mage, Priest versus Druid, where the other class needs the exact answer, whereas Rogue has a ton of answers, but it's how they use them and when they use them. So it's like you give both decks some amazing tools to win the game and say enjoy, as opposed to maybe Priest has a lot of, I feel, way more one-sided matchups than a lot of decks right now. Yeah,
and unfortunately we didn't get to get onto the subject while it was on screen, but the distinct build that we see there of the Priest from Tyler, this is what we saw in a sideboard, I believe, from Suni and Physics King and Masters Tour Soul, bringing the combo Priest deck. It's got a pretty spicy list of the Priest here with Octosari and Chef Nomi thrown in there. I think this is primarily an anti-warrior build to give you a secondary win condition, and I've got to be honest, I think it's going to hurt him quite drastically against the Rogue.
There's a Seance as well, which again for Nomi potentially, as well as a few other choice minions. There's Coughing Crasher in there as a one-off as well.
Get out the Octosari.
So involved there's a Dead Ringer in there as well. So it's definitely not the super streamlined, you know, like up to 4 cost and then it stops. Priest deck we're used to seeing, but it is warranted. And as we've said, as we've seen already this weekend, there are some decks that are just clearly not built for certain matchups. So like Hunters could do with a bit more beef to take on some of the slower decks, I feel. But Tyler, like you said, has gone for maybe a slower matchup, but has ran straight into this Warrior as we go into game number 1. SamuelTsao versus Tyler. SamuelTsao on the top on the Rogue, and Tyler on the Priest on the bottom.
Tyler with an interesting full keep there. I think it's, you know, he would be valid in trying to search a little bit more heavily for one of his 1-drops, but with his build of the Priest going for, again, Octosari, Chef Nomi, he has opted to cut Light Wardens in order to make room for that package. So his 1-drops are limited to exactly Northjag Cleric. So I can understand kind of settling here, I guess, if you will, for what is a reasonable hand. He's got a curve of 2-drop, 3-drop should he need it, but it is far from the auto victory that Priest can sometimes find itself with.
Yeah, and the good thing is, even this high level of aggression that Rogue presents, although Rogue does have 1-drops, they're not too threatening, right? One's the Pharaoh Cat and one's a deck hand, which is not normally what you want to play on one anyway. So even if SamuelTsao is a 1-drop and Tyler has to then go Tolvair into it, the Tolvair still beats the 1-drop normally without any help.
Yeah. Tyler looking very swish in his new Complexity rebrand jersey and his new hairstyle as well. Very snazzy. SamuelTsao looking very snazzy as well with his good old haircut. Don't want to take anything away from him.
Although, we're coming back to this background issue.
Oh, yeah.
On one hand, we have SamuelTsao that he's still not got the direction of this backboard done properly.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we've got Tyler just showing off. Yes, Tyler, you can do crazy gymnastic-y things and you have weights and cool stuff. You're way not lazy like I am. But I do have to give it to Tyler if we're going to judge backgrounds, even though I guess SamuelTsao should win, because at least his is in-screen. Tyler's just gone.
You get points for how much percentage of your screen is covered by the backdrop. I mean, the thing is for Tyler, those weights are probably the least impressive thing he could even do in his room, considering he can do handstand press-ups on stream, which are absurd.
I interviewed him at the summit here in this studio, and he basically said he wanted to have it recorded. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? If I could get close to doing one, I would also want it to be recorded proof. He just did it. He just jumped on the floor, started doing his press, did like 6+ easily, and I was like, Tyler, stop making me feel bad about my life choices.
I think if I tried to do one right now, I'm not even joking, I think my arm would literally snap. And Lord only knows we don't want that again.
I know, I've already dealt with that once, never again. Now we see those, we get back into more reasonable things. Tyler is going to not go for the Acolyte on curve and instead go for the Nefset Ritualist, which means he can not only heal his Tolve up to 6 health, which is a very nice health total, but also have the option of dropping a powered shield on one or the other. I don't even know if I have an overall preference if it was going to be played this turn, which one you would drop it on.
Yeah, this is an interesting facet of Priest play, and something that I think is overlooked a lot of the time is that there's not actually that many cheap spells in the deck. It's not like you just have limitless 0 mana spell do something. So when you do find
Priest.
Well,
old,
exactly.
Old Nomi Priest.
Exactly. Nomi Priest is a good example, is that you have so many cheap spells, you can be very, very liberal with them over the course of the game. With this particular deck, as soon as you find something like Wild Pyromancer in specific, it can be actually difficult to activate it a lot of the time, I find, because you don't have a lot of cheap spells. So I really don't mind holding on to it here for Tyler, especially as he has himself High Priest Amit, of course, to... if he buffs that up, he's very, very happy. Indeed.
Also, in this matchup specifically, you're always going to be wary of sap. So if you just throw in health on things without doing anything really to gain from it, and it gets sapped, then the cards feel a little bit wasted.
Psychopomp being found could be used to resurrect a 2-3 here with
I love the Amit here, actually.
I like the look of Amit too here.
Because then
well
either Amit doesn't die, great, or it does die, and you have probably a 50-50 chance at rezzing it, which is insane.
I agree. I think even if it gets sapped here, it's not that bad. You can still follow up with powerful plays. You
can follow up with that into powered shield afterwards, and
why not?
You almost trade turn for turn, because Rogue isn't often going to do much with sap next on turn 4. I'm not going to really be able to follow up with too much with 2 mana.
Right. The downside is the game continues. The potential upside is the game does not continue and you win.
Yep. Because also, Psychopomp with Amit down is just unfair. Psychopomp's kind of unfair anyway, but then when you buff it by minimum 6 health, oof. SamuelTsao does have the coin to be able to put the combo on this Scimitar if he wants to, but he does also just have a more straight up waggle pick if he wants to go for that option. But I guess this gives him the sap.
Yeah, I like this. This allows him to clear the board and develop a 3-3 and a 3-1. This is a powerful swing turn for SamuelTsao. This is what he needed.
This is the worry though as well. The second you use that sap, it's used.
And actually what you sap here is really tough to choose, because if you sap the Amit, it can obviously come back down again, which is bad. If you kill it though, it can be rezzed.
I hate playing Priest for this exact reason. Someone drops Blade Master and they don't heal it, and you're like, oh, that's an easy kill, sweet. And they res it the next time with Psychopomp, and you're like, no, I fell into your trap.
Right, let's see the 50-50 here on Psychopomp. That's not what you're looking for.
SamuelTsao got away with it. Yeah. Still though, a very sticky minion regardless because of Reborn. It's still nothing to sniff at in the matchup at all. It's just, it could have been way worse. Tyler, not enjoying the loss of the 50-50.
Not happy at all. Thinking back to different decisions he could have made over the course of the game, the major one being not playing Power Word Shield on turn 3, I think was the standout one. If we had seen Power Word Shield come down on the full health Tolve, it would not have made a difference, I think, because it could still have been sapped and then the Amit would have died. The only real difference I can see would have been if he'd power word shielded the Neferset on turn 3, because that would have meant that Backstab SI would not have killed it, so we would have had another minion in play there. Maybe that helps with trades more. It means another minion isn't dead for when Amit is resurrected by Psychopomp, so it would be a higher chance of Psychopomp resurrecting Amit.
Funnily enough, that choice was made instead of Acolyte of Pain. And the deck doesn't work if you don't draw cards. And the deck is insane when you do. So, you know, there's another point of, instead of just healing it up, you could have had a 2-3 and an Acolyte of Pain, which often don't get both dealt with that easily.
To Tyler's credit, though, the upsides of his style of play here have been pretty clear in that it's given him a fantastic draw in Wild Pyromancer as soon as he finds that. A good draw in Circle of Healing.
Also, no damage.
Yeah, exactly.
And his one sap out. One sap is long gone now. He's only got one more to worry about in terms of a real hard counter to this kind of play.
Yeah. There's very, very little that can answer this. We're looking at like Ethereal Lackey into some kind of destruction. Like a Walk the Plank.
Assassinate.
Assassinate, yeah, exactly. Which is obviously a good ways off, I think, as we currently stand. It can be killed, obviously, at the moment with Wagglepick, Eviscerate, and the Life Drinker.
I think you do it, you know. That's a Divine Spirit down the pan.
I think
you do it.
Yeah, I think you do too. Because the aggression plan can obviously be curbed not only, well, primarily by the Tolvir Warden that you know is in hand because you sapped it for a taunt, also just by the fact you could die.
Yes, it's literally, you could just be dead next turn.
Or Wild Pyromancer clearing the board, drawing a bunch of cards.
And also, yeah, because it's an Acolyte, you either die or they draw 50 cards because they keep healing it. And then it's just, you'll lose. And also, even if he dumps this much into the Acolyte, SamuelTsao has Myras. He can press the button whenever he wants and then go, you know, whenever he makes that choice.
And I think if SamuelTsao had lethal represented, like 2-turn lethal he could set up, he should go for it as much as possible. But he doesn't have that. At the moment, it means he needs to keep getting damage through consistently. Okay. But in the end, he's deciding this is an all-in aggression, pray they don't have it kind of hand. But hey, let's find out if he gets there. Tyler starting off the draw.
Oh, and now
this is just the absolute dream.
I've got more left in me.
Is someone injured?
Drawing a whole bunch of cards, setting up 2/2/6 Taunters in the way. You can even buff one of them up to 12 health if he needed.
I wonder if there was... I guess it doesn't matter. It's fine.
You could Seance one of them. That's not bad.
I was wondering whether it was better to heal the Acolyte first, because then it would have drawn one extra card. But
I'd probably
maybe
rather
the heal
spend the 2
on
mana.
your own health
Yeah.
or a card is probably fair.
I agree.
It's only 1 card difference.
I think there's a good chance that, yeah, you want to spend Seance, Hero Power Phase. Like, I think you're drawing enough cards here most of the time.
Well,
Backstab Myras?
I think it just has to, right?
Yep.
Do you swing first and then replay the Life Drinker?
Why don't we just do that after?
Because will you have space? It won't really bounce. You fill your hand, right?
Yeah, but I mean, sure you can play something else first. Like
For exactly 2
Backstab
mana?
or Sap.
Okay, well the sap there, but all I mean is you want to be forced to.
Fair enough. I think I like going for it first. I just see what your options are. Because if possible, he wants to be able to bounce Leroy instead as well, I think.
I just think you always swing because you always want to start killing these minions.
I guess
And if that's the case, then...
swing. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, the Dread Corsair is obviously an argument, but there was also a chance you got 0, a chance you got 1. Stuff. Oh, and this bounce is a bit of a punish, isn't it? This is just the fear factor of this priest there. If you've not cleared their board by now, you could just be dead.
Could just be dead right now. A couple of draws for lethal here, with obviously
bad.
the heal to start things off. And then as soon as either Topsy-Turvy... Oh, no, sorry, no Topsy-Turvies in the deck. As soon as Inner Fire is found, lethal is represented. 1 out of 6 right now to find it.
Also, I don't know if you were watching did you watch any of Europe yesterday?
Tiny bit.
So Abra and Sol were talking about the mummy,
Hey, there we go.
saying it always comes off Feral Cat.
I was
It's
saying
busted.
that.
Oh, you said
yeah,
that as well?
yeah,
And
yeah.
then it's just the fact that we saw the first Feral Cat come down and gave mummy. And
Literally
I'm like,
every
wow,
time. Yes,
that's
it's actually
incredible.
bugged, I swear.
But Tyler does take the win there. We did go slightly off topic, but as you said, Tyler did draw X card.
Yeah, he got it.
And he got it. Got the inner fire, and that did clean up the game. It did look a little bit dicey for just a moment. Obviously, not getting the Psycho Pump on the Amit was unfortunate, but still, Tyler just kept the pressure on. And I really like just the post-sap setting up the Acolyte was just great. Because not only was it unlikely to die, it's also drawing you. It's not just a threat of lethal, it's a threat of, well, I'll get to lethal because it draws tons of cards. And then obviously the Cleric Circle of Healing, magnificent in terms of just refilling that hand and what the deck is built to do. So Tyler, not, I would say, punished for his choice in his build of this priest. He
Not
actually,
this time.
I'll say got away with it. Not that it took anything away from Tyler, of course, but he did manage to win a matchup that should have been a little bit harder than the usual build. So good job for Tyler. But that is just game number 1. We've got game number 2 coming right up. So Tyler versus SamuelTsao is going to continue after this.
Again, darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers and up from the dusty tombs, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the markets, and ancient mysticism. There should be scorching deserts, adventure, monster of narcissism. High stakes, think annihilation, obliteration of civilization. Now is the time to be brave. Evil's come to enslave, but this league's gonna save the world.
Hearthstone Esports is home to many competitive formats, each with their own unique variants and rules. Today, we're going to break down one of them, the Shield Phase Conquest format. And here's how it works. To start, both players bring 4 decks, each from a unique class. The match starts with a Shield Phase. This is where both players choose one of their own decks to protect, making it ineligible to be banned. Once the Protect phase has ended, both players will then ban one of their opponent's decks, removing it from the pool. Each player then selects which of their remaining decks they would like to play first before beginning the first game of the series. When the first game of the series is over, the winner's deck is removed from their pool of eligible decks. Both players then select the next deck they would like to play. The loser of the first game can choose to replay with the deck they lost with, or they can choose one of their other 2 available decks. In Best of 3 conquests, the first player to 2 wins is the victor. In Best of 5 series, such as those in the semifinals or finals of major events, the first player that makes it to 3 wins takes the W. It's that easy. Shield Phase Conquest allows players to showcase their skill set across different classes, while still giving them the opportunity to play the deck they're most confident with. Now that you've got the download on Shield Phase Conquest, we wish you well on your deck building adventures.
We're ready for game number 2 between Tyler and SamuelTsao. Tyler taking a quick win with the Priest, and it looked to could have gone either way, I think, in that game number 1, but Tyler got away with it with the Priest. We didn't really get to see the tech choices or the build really come into its own, but it did what generally Priest, at the moment in time at least, is built to do. So we are going to be moving on to game number 2. Tyler has his Mage or his Rogue available to him, and SamuelTsao has his suite of 3 decks to choose from.
Yeah, I believe Tyler is going to end up going for the Mage here up against the Rogue from SamuelTsao, which is not the best matchup that you're looking for as the Mage, I think it's fair to say, but we have seen it go, or in my experience, seen it go both ways if you can find a strong minion or removal-based start for the Mage.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Because for me, if you look at Tyler's choices, he has 2 matchups that he has 1 deck that is good versus 2 of SamuelTsao's, which I believe is Rogue Mirror is neutral, and then Rogue versus Mage. So to me, that looks like a good pick. But then if SamuelTsao expects that, and it thinks Tyler will change to Mage, then SamuelTsao will move away from Warrior, which he has done, which is then makes Tyler play something else. I don't know, it goes a little bit weird, but I think I would have liked to have seen Rogue from Tyler regardless. I think depending on how deep you go down the rabbit hole, I think Rogue might have still just ended up being pretty solid.
Yeah, I think the worst individual matchup out of all of those is probably Rogue versus Warrior. It's just, in my experience, very, very miserable. I guess it gets a bit better with Tyler's specific build of the Rogue with Chef Nomi thrown in there, which maybe makes it a little bit more palatable against the Warrior. I can't fault Tyler for going for the Mage, however, because again, it's Conquest. You know, if he loses this one, he can still go for it again. He doesn't know what he's going to be up against in his opponent, and so he just doesn't want to queue what he deems is his weakest remaining deck, which I guess he puts as the Rogue.
Yeah, funny. And what I'm going to do as well is after this weekend, I'm very interested in putting together the numbers and just seeing, for example, the percentage of players that say first pick their shield class. You know, in the first game of the series, because it's very interesting to me that we've seen shielded classes not be picked due to the outcome of other people's, bans and shields and so on. I mean, and just the way that evolves around this kind of weird meta of you can't directly target because you don't have to win with every class.
I think first pick doesn't matter because it's just, like the classic Conquest mind games of what do you think your opponent's going to pick. It's all just impossible to predict mind games. I think when you've won a game, that's when it starts to matter because you can have 1 deck left over that you don't play. So you don't want to play what you think is your weakest deck, which Tyler here, I presume, assumes is his Rogue.
Let's see what is going on as we go into game number 2. Tyler on the Mage on the bottom with not the best mulligan in the world, not the best opening offerings, but post now, Ray of Frost now with the secret that's kept, not too bad. I'm about to sneeze, so carry on, Derek.
We're both about to sneeze, but you actually got it out.
Excuse me.
In that eternal hell where it's just stuck in your nose.
Tickles you.
Yeah, the worst.
Let's have a look though. SamuelTsao's hand looks very good as far as I'm concerned though, on the coin as well.
Both of these players' hands are actually pretty reasonable because Tyler, obviously, having found the Luna's Pocket Galaxy, has got a very nice play a little bit later on, and I imagine he's probably got the stall he needs to get him there, at least against a minion starting hand. SamuelTsao, however, has quite a lot of strong non-minion-based plays as well.
You know what I was about to suggest?
Coin Scimitar?
No doubt you will call me a crazy person. Was either Coin Scimitar or Coin Hench Clan just play Scimitar
about that,
and just push. That's like that's 6 damage next turn.
Yeah, I think
that's just, I don't know.
I think if Tyler wasn't playing Ooze, Coin Scimitar would actually maybe be the strongest play. You just go Coin Scimitar into Thug, Swing Face. Like you go Coin Scimitar, don't swing, and then you swing with the, or maybe you do, and then you curves into Waggle. Like
it's why I thought the other way of going Thug first, and yes, you lose the damage on the Scimitar, but you make it up in the fact that Thug can attack sooner.
True.
So you kind of make up and you're buffing the Thug outside of AoE range. And demanding a direct answer. So I don't know.
This is definitely not the highest damage route that he went for. I don't hate it because it does allow for Waggle Pick to swing face, which gets out of range of Flame Ward if that's what he's afraid of. And it's also just, it gets the Lackey synergy rolling, which is still useful against mages.
And I think Tyler just has to Flame Ward. He's going to take the damage. We know there's weapons. Tyler should not be surprised at a weapon at all.
I think he's considering whether he should Ray of Frost whether he should Ray of Frost in addition to the Flame Ward, or perhaps even instead of. Because we could see double Ray of Frost ping to take out the...
Well, I don't
thugs?
think you should Ray of Frost this.
Why not? It's going to get bigger.
Right, but my only point is either SamuelTsao attacks with a minion, procs a secret. If SamuelTsao attacks with a weapon first and procs a secret, then Tyler can just ping it. If he doesn't...
He can ping it on turn 5 when he's got Galaxy in hand.
But if that attack happens, though, because what I'm saying is, if Samuel's... I guess he takes 1 turn of damage.
Right. Because the way I see it is if he doesn't Ray of Frost it, the swing comes in with the Waggle Pick, and then the Thug swings face as well, which is 8 damage you've taken there. He kind of has to play Galaxy next turn, or at the very least he really wants to.
He wants to, but is it really that high of a priority when you're getting smoked down?
I think so.
Okay, okay.
I think you need to be optimistic, right, in your win condition, because if you just ping and remove every turn, eventually they'll get
My
there.
point is if you freeze it now, you don't take 4, but you take 5 the turn after if you play Galaxy.
Whereas if you don't freeze it, you take 4 more and you still have to pay the Galaxy, I think.
Yeah, okay, so in my world you'd ping instead, that's all. So
Okay.
it would end up being
Right.
different, but that's just a difference of Galaxy opinion, I
Okay,
guess.
I guess
That's
my
what-
opinion
Which
then
one of
is
us
that
goes Galaxy brain?
Galaxy has to be played on
Right,
turn
exactly,
5
which
to win this
if
game.
that's the case, I 100% agree with the freeze.
Okay.
But I just don't know if, with the way the hand looks already, if Galaxy was needed right now. There's no card draw in hand.
Okay.
Your Tortolan's already in hand. Your Kartok Defender's
Yeah.
already in hand. Like, you've got stuff to do in the next few turns.
I am.
Is Galaxy
I still
actually
disagree.
needed? Okay.
I still disagree.
It's very interesting, though.
Yeah,
because-
I think one good draw can turn this around. And that's not just a big minion, of which there are still many. That's Luna, that's Arcane Intellect, and it's just better mana utilization. It gives him a chance to pull the game back. Because if he's just playing mediocre, lukewarm plays, like Kartok Defender just gets value traded, and then he's still behind on board. I think this was definitely the way to
But
go
he
for Tyler.
heals is the big thing, right?
Yeah, it's still,
it has to be
it's still
traded
good.
into
It's still
twice.
a good card to play if he doesn't find anything better. But this means he could find Reno, Alex Straza, a whole bunch of good stuff. Kalagos would be insane. And now Tyler is obviously really going to be wishing, assuming the Kartok Defender comes down, that there's no sap. I think that's got to be the play. It's just too weak on the current board to sap.
Snap freeze.
No elementals in hand. I guess Book of Spectres, yeah. Trying to find something nice and big to play here. Ooh.
I don't.
Did you not like that?
noises.
Did you want Snap
Why-
Freeze?
Well, Snap Freeze, you're only facing down 5 damage. And you could you have pinged as well? Could you have pinged? Oh wait, I've lost my mana now. If you do that, Snap Freeze.
Yes, because he wouldn't have had Doomsayer, so we could have
Yeah.
seen Snap Freeze,
And then
Ray
just
of
ping a
Frost
1.
ping.
Yeah. Oh,
Whereas
well,
now,
you could have seen Ray of Frost Snap Freeze ping to kill the
Right.
Henge Clan if you wanted to do it that way. Or you could have froze them both and took 1 damage this turn.
yeah,
Ooh, I don't know.
it was interesting. It was very, very interesting.
This whole game's interesting, actually.
Yes, it is.
I love it.
SamuelTsao now in a situation where he can deal 11 damage, I think, because Deadly Poison obviously has nothing to activate on. So does he instead go with Waggle Pick, Swing Face, and set up for if there's a board clear? Or, well, after the Doomsayer goes off, I should say, Leroy can
Just
still deliver.
Waggle Pick Deadly Poison.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
that's
you've
what
got
I'm looking at.
Sap Leroy.
Yeah.
Come, don't game. Need Admirable for that. He's slightly better than me in beatboxing. Only slightly better. He'll pretend he's a lot better, but that's just not true. Because I think I'm way better than I am.
Wiki wiki wah wah.
Can still go for the Deadly Poison. The Ethereal like is not too much of a... yeah, this is just solid. This is going to be 1-1,
Yep.
I think.
I agree. I think it's exactly what SamuelTsao needs to be doing.
And yes, we're going to go down Sottel's favourite road. It's called Results-Orientated Street. But I just feel that like, the absolute magic had to happen based on what Tyler had already had in his hand as to what minions he was going to draw with Galaxy to win the game.
Right, but I don't know what you're expecting to have happened if he hadn't played that. Because
The Henge Clan wouldn't have dealt a good chunk of damage, and he would have still had more freezes to delay other things later.
Right, but with the way it worked, SamuelTsao didn't even attack on the turn where he froze the minion. So say he'd gone turn 3, say he'd just gone, sorry, turn 4, Flame Ward, and he hadn't frozen. SamuelTsao equips the thing, swings face, and he pings. Like, that's very specific because SamuelTsao didn't even attack in that instance. He let it grow an extra turn.
But he would have attacked if it wasn't frozen, right?
Maybe.
Would you not? Would you skip 4 damage?
Maybe.
Just because it's Flame Ward?
That's
That's the thing, I don't know.
think even in that instance, if you're spending turn 5 pinging and passing, you just lose.
Maybe.
I think there was...
I wish we could just have a magical contraption that rewinds time and we go, make this play this time.
Right.
And then we could just see what happens because it's very interesting.
I agree Galaxy was unlikely to win him the game at that point because of the amount of damage that was coming through, but I think it was his best shot. The other thing I would give real consideration to was whether Tyler, instead of going for the Flame Ward on turn 4, should have gone for double Ray of Frost and a ping to just take out the Henchclan Thug. I think that had a lot more merit. Exactly, because then it can't grow. He knows pretty much 100% that a weapon swing is going to come through. Right, there's so many weapons, even just a hero power would have got the job done. And I think given that there's no secrecy as to what the secret is, he knows it's Flame Ward. I think then SamuelTsao would make it a high priority to buff the health on the Thug, and therefore I think getting rid of it was a much more valid thing to go down. But I think whatever it was, Galaxy had to be played on 5.
Okay, very, very interesting game there. And SamuelTsao does even it up with the Rogue and got a solid matchup. I think you can very easily see that Mage has to really hit the targets on time to be able to defend versus...
It's a bad matchup.
Almost like Rogue has to draw so bad to just not deal enough damage early. It's
pretty much. So
much of its hand is just so much aggro early on. So we'll see what they're going into. I believe it's going to be Mage on Mage. We're going to see a Reno Mage face-off for the winner of this match.
That's right. This ended up being the finals of Masters Tour Seoul over the weekend, which was a pretty exciting matchup. And we unfortunately didn't get to see all of the games on stream due to some technical issues. But here, hopefully we'll get to see a good old-fashioned matchup of Reno Mage Mirror. It can be very one-sided, it can be very long, it can be very quick. This game can go in all kinds of different ways.
Yeah, and I've seen just different styles been approached in this matchup as well. Some players go for some heavy sort of on-curve play and try and smoke them down. Yeah. Some players take it a little bit slower and go for more, I would say maybe a combo effectiveness and say instead of keeping some early drops, they'll hard mulligan for the Pocket Galaxy. But I see you oofed. I'm guessing the King.
Yeah,
and I'm not talking about Elvis.
It was an interesting pick there to throw in your Mage. I haven't seen that in quite a while. King Fioris in general has kind of gone by the wayside. A lot of players were predicting it to be very strong at the start of the expansion. Still knocking around in Druid, I think, is the place where I see it the most. But, you know, if you can find it nice and early off Luna's Pocket Galaxy, it's just a board in a box.
Yes, and I'll say now, my experience with that card, I have just straight up lost games to just that card alone. Sometimes it makes a board and you just lose, right? But I think it is found its home as a tech choice, and as we start to see the meta develop a bit more, we will see whether that's going to be consistently included in certain lineups or not, because although it's not included much at the moment, if you expect yourself to go against Mage or Warrior, I would definitely put that in my deck, because as I said, and as you said, it's just a one card do a massive thing that sometimes either A, wins you the game or causes your opponent like all kinds of trouble.
Yeah, I think it's just it acts as generic strong minion off of Luna's Pocket Galaxy. It's another good minion to hit. There's a whole bunch of them, like whether you're going for King Fioris or obviously Pilgrim into Power of Creation, Kalagos into Power of Creation. There's a whole bunch of strong stuff you can do, and it just gives SamuelTsao that little bit of extra chance to find those power turns.
Tyler, keeping it simple, with no Giant in hand, and the overall plan in this deck aims away from exactly mounting Giant early to more Lunas on 5, it means that you generally do want to have one of these early curves, and I think this is maybe not the perfect hand from Tyler, but it's a hand I would love in the mirror because you get to play stuff, and a lot of the time your opponent does not have a similar hand, so your minions can start applying pressure. Just funnily enough, both players had Ooze, so you get to just play them down.
Yeah, it's clearly one that Tyler liked because he kept the Ooze and Mulligan, which I find a little bit surprising.
Like I said, I've seen a few players just go for tempo and just go for it. Just want to play on curve. Because the Second your opponent doesn't, it's kind of like what we saw in Hunter versus Mage. You have minions and they don't. It's like, you just die.
And it's also, when you have Luna's Pocket Galaxy, you don't want to mulligan too aggressively because you don't want to draw your big minions. You
Right, and he had the early
keep it nice
curve,
and calm and keep them in your deck.
Keep calm. It's Galaxy.
Good mantra for Hearthstone at the moment.
For approximately one more day. I think it's Tuesday.
Yeah, that's true. I don't
Is it
know when the
Tuesday?
expansions.
I want to
the
say,
nerf is hitting.
yeah, I want to say it's Tuesday because I feel like it normally just is.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't decide.
Either.
I'd make it as soon as GM finishes.
Yeah, I mean, if it was up to me, we'd have had an 11 mana Doctor Boom 5 months ago. So probably for the best.
And the warrior never gets coin.
Well,
just in the game now.
Can't go to no.
I don't even know. I can't even guess where you're going there.
You can't go to 11 mana with the coin.
Yeah, it was a joke.
Oh, okay.
But guess what? I'm sorry.
Straight over my head.
Tyler. Either just hates the look of the art on that card and doesn't want to look at it, or he's just worried about the discovery.
I mean, he's worried about Counterspell. I think he really wants to play Luna's Pocket Galaxy on this turn.
This is very interesting to me that SamuelTsao waiting to clearly pick Counterspell.
Oh, it's the classic.
Because, but Tyler is always going to polymorph this turn.
I guess so.
Or Nova now. But you can't play Luna. You cannot play Luna.
But what if it's not?
But you can literally test in one turn's time. Like,
then you're wasting a good card.
But SamuelTsao would have coined into Pocket
yeah.
Galaxy. So you know he doesn't have it.
What to do?
Correct?
How does that help you know what secret it is?
No, because what I'm saying is you can take one more turn to test because he doesn't have Pocket Galaxy.
Okay.
So you'll still be ahead in the Galaxy War.
Oh, okay, yeah. With respect to that, yes. I think you can
So
make
I
a good read he
think
doesn't
you
have
can
it.
take the time to just Nova, or maybe you should have
No!
Jeez. I don't think that was. I don't think the risk was. Oh! Get wrecked! Get absolutely wrecked off the top. Now, nothing feels worse than that. And SamuelTsao, you are stone cold-hearted here because he didn't even crack a smile. I would have. I don't care about being polite. I would have broken in laughter if I was SamuelTsao right now.
Top 10 anime betrayals of all time. Luna's Pocket Galaxy taking down Tyler. Get absolutely wrecked.
Into Calicos with Luna.
He could
to
go
draw
puzzle
more
box
cards.
this turn.
And he could draw more cards.
Behold the tools
Minion?
of
Hey, why not chuck Zephyrus in as well?
If Zephyrus was really smart here, he'd give you like a 10-cost spell.
Well, let's find out.
Let's find out, I guess. He's just running out of cards. Hand space.
Who cares? Mountain Giant for free, why not?
Master Spell could come down for free. Well, Mountain Giant wouldn't be free, right?
Wait, why is it offering him a Mountain Giant? Is it just
It's
'cause
got
it's
full
a
hand.
cheap? Yeah, it's
You
cheap.
can't play it, but...
time runs out on me.
Just open the box.
Behold
Is he gonna
the
Master Spell?
tools of creation.
He's probably gonna Master Spell. We always see the box.
Oh my god, this is so much worse now than just losing a game of Hearthstone. This is like the clinical deconstruction of who Tyler is as a man.
He's gonna walk out of this game and be changed forever.
Exactly.
It just couldn't be any worse.
Jesus. This is almost as bad as watching like Theon Greyjoy's decline. Like, this is brutal.
SamuelTsao's just holding a sausage. Oh.
Okay, with the polymorph here, Tyler gonna
It's
leave.
still bad.
Oh, yes, it's very, very, very bad.
So, honestly, do you really think, yes, we know it was Counterspell, but do you really think he needed to go for it?
I don't know.
I would have, personally, I would have never done it.
I cannot get Cast Division out of my head.
I just know I would have been too terrified of a Counterspell and thought it was fine to go one turn without.
It just, you get into your head, right? Because it's like with the old, in Paladin, whenever you got offered Tarim off of Stonehill, you never picked it quickly.
Right.
You always waited forever, even though it was always the pick. Whereas there for SamuelTsao, there was never any doubt. You always pick the counterspell there. But he still took it a little bit slow. And I guess that got into Tyler's head, and he fell for the jabate.
Now Tyler should wait the whole turn picking the secret. Just to make SamuelTsao think, is it counterspell? Oh wait, I don't care.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Look, you
Yeah.
can get another Zephyrus here.
Yeah.
Or
Wait,
you
you can
could
even
just-
play. You can play Vulpera. Oh no, just way too many cards.
It's just
in hand.
way too many cards already. Like, we're looking
You should
at...
definitely swap it for Zephyrus though. You should swap the. What about if he plays Barista and then just
Conjurers
Conjurers?
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like it. You definitely want the Zephyrus
I think you
because
take
it can
that
just get
one,
you like
okay.
Pyro later on and just win the game.
It's
Like,
also it's a 1-mana 4/5, right? It's absurd.
it's also 1 mana. You know what? I was looking at this turn, imagining it. I forgot that it was 1 mana,
Yeah.
and was like, it's still
still
a really
good.
good turn.
Yeah.
And now it's just realised. SamuelTsao can just
Double
keep
pump
casting
has a
Conjurers
Rondo
if you want.
extra. Starweb High Mountain Ice Room for Mana Spice coming right up.
I'd love it if Zephyrus wasn't restricted to Classic and Basic. It just gave you another Barista. You're like, oh.
I think it's good Zephyrus has a little bit of restriction. I mean, if it had no restriction, it would every time it would offer you Shadow Steps until the rope would burn you, and then it would offer you Edwin.
That'd be sick. I'd imagine if that's... They released the card like that and then they just did it. Because there's only 2 cards it can offer you, right? Which is Brewmaster and Chance.
Brewmaster and Shadow Step.
Zephyrus has banned cards. Hearthstone Grandmasters does not. Yes, Tyler, I would also have my hands in my face at this point.
The future
Not on his
is
face, in his own face at this point.
ours. Behold the
The worst part
tools of
is, Tyler's
creation.
hand, in Hearthstone game terms, looks good.
It's good.
In this
It's
game
a good
terms,
hand.
it may as well be nothing.
The laws of physics no longer apply in Luna's pocket galaxy.
Yeah.
Oh. The only restriction is hand and board space. If there was no restriction to that, SamuelTsao would have drawn his whole deck, have like 50 minions on the board.
And Tyler will probably never play Hearthstone ever again.
I wonder.
Yeah, this was a game. I'm trying to wonder if there's any avenue for Tyler to get back into this game. Like, if he gets Zephyrus into... Like, I guess if SamuelTsao massively overcommits, Zephyrus into Twisting Nether could then,
The
I don't
problem
know,
is,
pull him back into the game.
it's hard for SamuelTsao to overcommit because he doesn't have board
He
space.
doesn't have board space.
You know what I mean?
It's true, yeah.
He literally cannot overcommit onto the board.
Behold
And the problem with
tools of
Tyler now without
creation.
Pocket Galaxy
Runs
is
out on me.
that the average mana cost of the good stuff in his deck
Yeah.
is too high to do enough of it in any given reasonable time frame.
I mean, SamuelTsao should just fireball face. Yeah, I like this play. He was,
it
I think,
done?
playing the, considering playing the Pilgrim there. No.
I think he should just play the box just to give Tyler a chance.
Okay, well, we've got a kind of clear here. Flame Strike, Ray of Frost, the Edwin, ping the Barista. That stops any damage coming through. Or, you know, obviously just Blizzard could be used to delay things as well, I suppose. Yeah, that's not bad, actually. Blizzard and then
Then you can Flame Strike,
Ray of Frost, the
Flame.
Edwin. Yeah, and then Flame Strike next turn.
And then also you could Flame Strike, Flame Ward, you know, depending on what the board looks like.
You can Flame Ward this turn. Actually, you'd have to tank
No,
the 8
yeah,
from
8
Edwin.
to 8
Yeah,
to
yeah, no,
damage.
I agree. I always forget.
You can still Blizzard Ray this turn. Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also a reasonable chance, although maybe not that high, that he would be able to go Reno to clear the board, but I guess that's actually quite hard.
Nope.
Nope. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so sick.
Yeah.
Even with the low roll, I suppose, of Batterhead being relatively low damage, it's still just
also
lethal
immortal.
for days. Yeah, exactly.
This is just... maybe not. I think like can you just ping the 2-1 and just Conjurer's Call something, the 10-10 or something, you know what I mean? Just like just not care.
I think that's overcommitting. Like he's winning this game so heavily as it currently stands. The only way he loses, I think, is I mean maybe even that's impossible. I was going to say the only way he loses is Zephyrus Wall clear, but I think even then that's a little optimistic from Tyler. But I just don't think SamuelTsao needs to really. Just clearing out space from his hand. Frost Nova's literally nothing. Kind of similar to me, I think, leaving my air conditioning on in my room while we're here.
Just not important. Leave it on.
Yeah.
Call yourself environmentally friendly.
Charlatan. Yeah, Tyler now does have the ability to clear the board in a very, very optimistic scenario. We can see now with Siamat, he wouldn't even have to go with the polymorph. Maybe he would anyway.
I think you polymorph and Siamat. Just give that thing Wind Fury and Divine Shield and say, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, Reno is still just not even...
It's not even close.
Not even in the galaxy of being able to clear off.
I wonder.
And to be fair to him, you know, Tyler has done a good job to survive as long as he has. But I think, again, outside of the Zephyrus, it's looking pretty ogre.
What to do? What to do?
I wonder if SamuelTsao is ever afraid of filling up his board space
Time runs out on me.
in case, I don't know, there's another generator who can't clear it. I'm not even sure why. Yeah, it makes sense to just go for Conjurers here.
It's a big one.
All right, this needs to be a miracle here for Tyler. Hey, he got the galaxy!
Go! He should just play it and concede.
That is absolutely the play. I guess the actual play is to go for a freeze there to keep you alive. But man, oh man, that is absolutely right, Tyler, my friend. You just got destroyed. And SamuelTsao starts off Grandmasters Season 2 with a 2-0 scoreline, joining Chonsu right up at the top of the chopping block there.
It's looking very, very good. And it's very easy to go back to that one turn, right?
Of
and
course,
it all just is
that
about the
decided the
Pocket
game.
Galaxy turn. And again, maybe it's just always the correct play, whether you want to, do mathematically correct and all that. But I know I personally, if I was playing that game, would have been too terrified, because I honestly feel if it gets countered, you probably lose, just because of the odds on SamuelTsao having Pocket Galaxy within the next X turns and you can never play it. We saw just how difficult it was for Tyler to actually do anything reasonable when obviously SamuelTsao can do whatever the hell he wants.
And I guess your conclusion, which I agree with, that you can make the read he doesn't have Galaxy because he didn't coin into it.
Yeah, and you 100% coin Galaxy.
Right, and I think that maybe made Tyler more willing to go for it because he's thinking, okay, if I can get the Galaxy online and he can't, I'm in a great position, and even if it fails, we're even, right? I can just carry on in an even game state, and his hand was pretty good at that point to be carrying on in an even non-Galaxy game.
Yeah. And obviously, the play, whether you agree it was right or wrong, was made and felt a lot worse because Galaxy was drawn straight off the top for SamuelTsao. It just that turn. So it obviously it exploded and felt way, way, way worse than if SamuelTsao drew Galaxy in 3 or 4 turns from then. Maybe Tyler can get it far enough ahead. But, as you said, congratulations to SamuelTsao on a great weekend of Hearthstone so far, and I believe we've got another matchup coming up, and it's going to be Rivius versus Flurry. So this is going to be, this is basically our, I'll say, main match, feature match of the day.
I'm most excited for.
Yeah, and this is mainly because these are just 2 very prestigious Hearthstone players that have been around for a fair long time, and Flurry, for me, shows great skill, especially with Rogue, but mainly just execution. I feel like he's an extremely solid player, and Rivius, on the other hand, for me, sticks out in just pure creativity. And not only does he make sort of his own style and his own style of decks, probably most known for bringing like triple Mechathune to playoffs a while back now, but even now, his Mage deck, yes, almost everyone's brought Mage, it isn't Reno Mage. It isn't actually Cyclone Mage. It's just Card Mage.
Kind of
good stuff Mage.
Big stuff Mage, Control Mage we've been calling it sometimes. It doesn't really have an official name. This is more reminiscent of the deck that Dog won Las Vegas with, actually, in the Masters Tour, where that was obviously a little bit before the curve, a little bit before the expansion as well, so it did some of the new big spells in there, like 2 puzzle boxes of Yogg-Saron, as well as obviously all the Reborn synergy that goes in there as well. But I think this is not a bad way to go with the deck at all. Losing some of the synergy you get from Zephyrus and Reno is obviously, it hurts, but it's not that bad. And doubling down on some of the real powerhouse late game cards, as well as 2 Conjurer's Callings, of course, it has a lot of merit.
Yeah, one thing, funnily enough, we sit on opposite sides here, where I think doubling down on the anti-aggro tools is insane.
Sure.
There's double Frost Nova, double Doomsayer, double Ray of Frost, which is effectively ×4, obviously. There's still the Snip Snap, but there's 2 Key Smiths, which is potentially 2 Flame Wards, 2 Count Spells, so on. And then there's still like double Bone Wraith. There's still Pocket Galaxy, so you can still go off and do all the crazy Pocket Galaxy things. But the 2-ofs anti-aggro for me really stick out, because my big fault with Reno Mage is sometimes you just die by turn 5.
Yeah, and I hope that we get to see better things from Rivius here, because especially last year for me in the HCT system, he was the big omission from the World Championships at the end, with him coming so close to being #1 points earner, and also with Tyler being the #1 points earner, almost qualifying through the regular championship system. It was so sad for me that he wasn't able to get through, because I think he was such a dominant performer throughout all of Asia Pacific through that whole year. So I think this year for Grandmasters, hopefully it works a little bit better for him here, where he's able to use his creativity, as you said, with his deck list to pull ahead. Because I think especially in these early weeks, when most of the players are going for pretty standard, you know, you bring the 4 good decks, protect Warrior, ban Mage, is what most players have gone for. I think Rivius is going for something that's still with the grain for the most part, but a bit of a twist. He's got the Paladin there, which most players haven't gone for. He's got the Control Freeze Mage as well. He's definitely putting his own signature spin on the decks.
He is, and even Flurry is not to go without either, because Flurry's a warrior, is actually Bomb Warrior, but it has no Elysiana, but it has Azalina Soul Thief in there. So it's almost like if you face the mirror a lot of the time, you end up mirroring each other's hand late game, except you've done the bomb stuff and maybe the curve stuff and applied more pressure earlier on. And then as you get to late game, you can almost always guess the Azalina against Control Warrior, right? You know what they have in hand most of the time before they play it, and you roughly know when they're going to play it. So you can go, okay, I've done all my bomb stuff. If that's not worked, or even if it has worked and they're not quite dead yet, boom, Azalina, now we're on even footing. Even if they end up playing the Elysian first, well, what they've got, you've got, so at least for the hand, you can read exactly what's there.
Yeah, I think Elysiana, ideally, I agree. When you think about it optimistically, I feel the same way as you there, where it goes pretty good. I think generally, though, if you think back to Just Saying, I think in week 1 of Grandmasters, right at the start, he went for this kind of warrior list where he had Elysiana. Sorry, he had the Soul Thief Azalina instead of Archivist Elysiana. I always get them mixed up. Didn't work out for him at all, though, so I'm interested to see how it works out there for Flurry.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we are just going to have to go to a quick break. I believe they're trying to get SamuelTsao on a call for the other language streams.
We'll figure it out.
But for us, we're just going to go to a quick break while they set up this match between Rivius and Flurry. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.